Japan, a country caught between tradition, demographics, and economic survival. For generations, this island nation maintained one of the world's most restrictive immigration policies, preferring robots over foreign workers. But demographic reality has forced a dramatic reversal. Today, Japan faces an existential question. Can it preserve its cultural identity while opening its doors to the world? In this video, we uncover what Japan is actually doing to solve its labor shortage crisis, the policies, the compromises, and the quiet revolution reshaping Japanese society. For decades, Japan was known as a fortress of ethnic homogeneity. Immigration was virtually non-existent. The country prided itself on cultural purity, social harmony, and a workforce that was almost entirely Japanese-born. But beneath this carefully maintained image, a crisis was brewing, one that no amount of tradition could solve. The shift began with numbers that couldn't be ignored. Japan's population peaked in 2008 at 128 million and has been declining ever since. By 2024, it had dropped below 124 million. More troubling still, over 29% of Japanese citizens are now over 65, one of the highest rates in human history. Hospitals lack nurses, farms lack laborers, construction sites lack workers. The engine of the world's third largest economy was running out of fuel. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, during his long tenure, faced an impossible choice: maintain Japan's closed-door policy and watch the economy collapse, or open the country to foreign workers and risk social upheaval. For years, he tried a middle path, encouraging women and elderly workers back into the workforce, investing in automation, raising retirement ages. None of it was enough. In 2018, Japan crossed a line it had refused to acknowledge for generations. The government passed the revised Immigration Control Act, creating new visa categories explicitly designed to bring in foreign workers. The language was careful. Japan insisted these weren't immigrants, but temporary workers. The reality, though, was unmistakable. Japan's doors were opening, however, slightly. The law created two new visa types. The first, called Specified Skilled Worker, Type 1, allowed foreigners to work in 14 sectors facing acute labor shortages: nursing care, construction, agriculture, food service, and manufacturing among them. These visas lasted up to 5 years, but didn't allow workers to bring families. The second, Specified Skilled Worker, Type 2, offered longer stays and family reunification, the closest thing Japan had to permanent immigration status without calling it that. Within 5 years, the program exploded beyond expectations. By 2023, Japan hosted over 3.3 million foreign residents, nearly 3% of the total population, a record high. The government's initial target of 345,000 workers in the new categories quickly proved too conservative. By 2024, Japan announced plans to accept up to 820,000 foreign workers over the next 5 years. These workers come primarily from Vietnam, the Philippines, China, Indonesia, and Nepal. They fill jobs in sectors Japanese citizens increasingly refuse: caring for the elderly in remote prefectures, picking vegetables in rural Hokkaido, assembling electronics in urban factories, serving customers in convenience stores open 24 hours. At the ground level, the small city of Hamamatsu in Shizuoka Prefecture became the face of Japan's transformation. Once a manufacturing hub dominated by Japanese workers, it now hosts one of the highest concentrations of foreign residents in the country, over 5% of its population. Brazilian Japanese descendants arrived first in the 1990s under special ancestry visas. Now they've been joined by Vietnamese, Filipinos, and Nepalis. Portuguese language signs hang beside Japanese characters. Catholic churches stand near Shinto shrines. International schools teach in multiple languages. Local frustration has occasionally flared, concerns about crime, noise, and cultural differences. But so has local adaptation. Community centers now offer Japanese language classes funded by the city government. Foreign residents participate in neighborhood associations. Children of immigrants attend Japanese public schools alongside their peers. Hamamatsu has become a microcosm of Japan's new reality, a place where immigration isn't a temporary measure but a permanent transformation. Japan's response operates on three fronts: controlled admission, skills verification, and gradual integration. On controlled admission, the government maintains strict oversight of who enters and under what conditions. Unlike traditional immigration countries, Japan doesn't offer a clear path to citizenship for most workers. The emphasis remains on temporary labor with specific skill sets in specific industries. Applications are processed through Japanese embassies abroad. Asia, the adjustment can be jarring. Language barriers persist despite government programs. Social isolation is common, especially in rural areas where foreign workers may be the only non-Japanese residents for miles. At the same time, Japan is investing in long-term infrastructure to support its changing demographics. The government has allocated billions of yen for elder care facilities that specifically recruit foreign workers. Agricultural cooperatives in declining rural regions now actively partner with Vietnamese and Filipino recruitment agencies. The Japan International Cooperation Agency runs programs in source countries, training workers before they arrive, and ensuring they understand Japanese workplace culture. These efforts show that Japan is no longer treating immigration as a threat to be minimized, but as a necessity to be managed. It is reshaping its workforce, communities, and national identity to accommodate a movement of people larger than anything the country has experienced in modern peacetime history. The politics of immigration in Japan remain deeply complex. The conservative Liberal Democratic Party, which has governed for most of the post-war era, frames its policy as economic pragmatism rather than multiculturalism. Officials argue that Japan is not becoming an immigration country, but merely addressing temporary labor shortages. They emphasize that foreign workers are expected to contribute, integrate, and eventually, at least in theory, return home. Critics, however, see something else: They argue that Japan is creating a permanent underclass of foreign workers who perform essential labor without receiving full social inclusion or political rights. The result is a growing population of residents who pay taxes, follow laws, and contribute to communities, but remain perpetual outsiders. Some scholars compare it to the guest worker programs of 1960s Europe, which also began as temporary solutions and became permanent social challenges. Still, some progress is undeniable. Japan has become one of Asia's most significant destinations for migrant workers. While resources are stretched thin and prejudices remain common, Japan's willingness to acknowledge its demographic crisis and respond with policy changes marks a historic shift. For a country that spent centuries in self-imposed isolation and the 20th century cultivating ethnic homogeneity, even incremental opening represents a profound transformation. There is also a quieter revolution happening inside Japanese society. Public opinion on immigration has gradually shifted. While older generations often express discomfort with increasing diversity, younger Japanese people, especially in urban areas, show greater acceptance. Surveys indicate that majorities now support accepting more foreign workers, though support drops when questions shift from workers to immigrants or permanent residents. This linguistic distinction reveals Japan's ongoing psychological struggle with its changing identity. In major cities, the transformation is becoming visible. Tokyo's Shinjuku and Ikebukuro districts now have thriving Vietnamese communities. Osaka's Tsuruhashi neighborhood has long hosted Korean residents and now includes growing numbers of Southeast Asians. Convenience stores across the country are staffed by Nepali and Vietnamese workers whose presence has become so normalized that many Japanese customers barely notice. This social adaptation is part of what Japan's government quietly hopes for: a gradual normalization of diversity as part of national life rather than a crisis to be solved. Meanwhile, Japan's current leaders face a defining question. Can the country continue to accept foreign workers as economic tools while denying them social belonging? Or will demographic necessity eventually force Japan to embrace genuine multiculturalism? Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, who took office in 2021, has pledged to expand foreign worker programs while strengthening support systems for integration. His administration plans to simplify visa renewal processes, expand the list of eligible industries, and create more pathways for long-term residents. There is also growing discussion, once unthinkable, about eventually allowing more foreign workers to bring families and settle permanently. This is where Japan's strategy aligns with its long-term survival, accepting that immigration is not a temporary policy, but a permanent reality. The government has begun coordinating with source countries to create pre-departure training programs, establishing bilateral agreements that protect worker rights while ensuring Japan receives qualified candidates. By improving conditions and building institutional frameworks, Japan hopes to attract skilled workers who will choose to come, stay, and contribute, even within a society that remains ambivalent about their presence. But even as policy evolves, human stories define the transformation more than statistics ever could. In elder care facilities across rural prefectures, Filipino nurses learn traditional Japanese songs to comfort dementia patients. In Toyota City factories, Brazilian Japanese descendants work alongside recent arrivals from Vietnam, communicating in a mixture of Portuguese, Japanese, and broken English. In Tokyo language schools, Nepali students study kanji characters late into the night, dreaming of passing certification exams that will allow them to stay longer, earn more, and perhaps, just perhaps, build lives in a country that still hasn't decided if it wants them permanently. Behind every visa application is a person, and Japan now carries responsibility for millions of them. Japan's efforts are far from perfect. Integration remains incomplete. Discrimination persists in housing, employment, and daily interactions, and the balance between economic necessity and cultural preservation continues to shift with each political cycle and demographic report. But in scale, significance, and historical context, Japan's transformation stands out. It's one of the few developed nations attempting to address population decline through immigration, while simultaneously resisting the label of becoming an immigration country all at once. That makes it not just part of the global migration story, but one of its most fascinating paradoxes. The world often looks to North America or Europe when discussing immigration, but perhaps it should look to East Asia. Japan is where demographic crisis meets cultural resistance, where necessity, tradition, and pragmatism collide. Its cities are learning to accommodate differences. Its workplaces are learning to communicate across languages, and its people are learning that homogeneity may have been sustainable in the past but is impossible in the future. The transformation isn't over. It may take generations, but through necessity, adaptation, and reluctant acceptance, Japan is attempting something few nations dare to try, turning demographic collapse into controlled diversity, cultural anxiety into economic survival, and a centuries-old identity into something new. And that, perhaps, is what makes Japan's story one of the most important social experiments of our time.